Well, hiya, BookTube. Bill Ruttenberg here with the Ruttenberg Library. In a previous video, I had talked to you about several piles of books that are sitting in my library, and I need to do some book hauls so that I can clear them out of the library or clear them off the table in there and put them up on the shelves. And I need to get everything shelved. So this is going to be one of those videos helping to clean up the library before school starts. So this is going to be a book haul all about Lincoln. And so all of these in one way or another are going to be related to Abraham Lincoln. Now there might be some different ways that happens depending on the book, but I think you'll see what I mean as we get going. So sit back and relax and just enjoy the new books coming into the Lincoln Library. So the first one is a little bit of an older, it's an older title, and I think I may even, if I get to looking, I think I may even have this one, but I picked it up just in case I didn't. I couldn't remember off the top of my head, but I fairly certain I may have a copy of this, but I don't know that I have a jacket copy for mine. But this is Mary Lincoln, Biography of a Marriage by Ruth Painter Randall. And like I said, this is an older copy. It's one that I'm going to have to, do a little bit of repair work to. I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to do this. I'd like to find some of the plastic sheeting to go over it to help protect it, just to keep it from getting torn up any worse. But you'll notice on the back here, a little bit of a dirty copy, but I mean, that kind of comes with age. But you'll notice that it's got some blurbs from Carl Sandburg, who of course have got, his whole series here. Alan Nevins, which I have that series too. Oh, I have to figure out where I put it. Might be across the wall there. Might be on that one. And then Benjamin P. Thomas, who I've got his biography on Lincoln as well. But this is a Little Brown and Company out of Boston, and it's a 1953 work. And so let me read the inside cover to you. Excuse me. It says, Mary Todd Lincoln is probably the most maligned of famous women in our nation's history. The truth about the president's wife has for years been hidden under a mountain of myth built up largely by Lincoln's biographer and law partner, William H. Herndon. Now, for the first time, the true woman beneath that myth is presented in a warmly sympathetic biography based on new research. When the veil of legend surrounding her is torn aside, an entirely new picture of a woman and a marriage emerges. People said Lincoln really loved Anne Rutledge, that his marriage was a cross he had to bear, that he had tried to avoid it, that his wife hurt him politically, though she drove him to the presidency, that she embarrassed him financially as well as socially, and inflicted on him the agony of adjustment to her psychopathic personality. Here's the evidence which restores Mary Todd Lincoln to her rightful place in history and the affections of the American people. As a wife and mother who possessed and fully earned the love and admiration of her husband. Through the eyes of the people who knew the Lincolns, through the long-lost telegrams and letters they sent each other, this is the story of their day-to-day family life together. It begins with Springfield, Illinois, and the stormy Lincoln courtship. Then they are married, and neighbors come to visit. Mr. Lincoln comes to the door in shirt sleeves, wearing an apron. But often he is off riding the legal circuit, and Mary sits at home alone. Lincoln is elected to the presidency, and the Lincolns enter the excitement and fear of wartime Washington. And it just goes on. I don't know that I need to read all of it, but you get the idea. It's gonna really get into some of the nitty gritty of their marriage, and I do believe that, like it said in the beginning there, that Ruth Randall puts Mary Lincoln into a much better light than most biographers do. Now, the next one is a piece of fiction, but it's Abraham Lincoln. So I'm putting it in this one, even though most of these are nonfiction. But this is Abe Lincoln of Pigeon Creek, a novel by William E. Wilson. Yeah, just another older works. Again, got a little bit of a tear in the cover. I'll have to do a little bit of repair work there. Another one I'd like to kind of get a plastic covering for. But here's a picture of our author. But this is a Whittlesey House out of McGraw-Hill Book Company from New York, and it is in Roman numerals, and I don't know my Roman numerals, so excuse me. I'm going to guess it's a 1950s book, just like that other one was. But this is, let me go ahead and read the cover of this one to you, because maybe this is something that would interest you. I know a lot of you still read, old fiction works, so maybe this will be one for you. It says, in this fine, sensitive novel based on the authentic history, William E. Wilson has subtly drawn in new perspective of the character of the youth Abraham Lincoln. He shows the turmoil, the indecision, the moments of wild hate and intense love, the pranks and the laughter of youth that gradually shaped Lincoln the man. From the pages of Abe Lincoln of Pigeon Creek, there emerge those aspects of Lincoln's life and character which, in his formative years, almost turned him from the historic course, yet at the same time foreshadowed the man who won through to his great destiny. The story starts when Abe's father brings his second wife, Sarah Bush Lincoln, to their cabin on Little Pigeon Creek in Indiana. Abe is devoted to the memory of his mother and is prepared to despise Sarah, but she, with unfailing sympathy and intuitive understanding, gradually wins over her resentful stepson. It is Sarah who makes school possible for young Abe and encourages him to read and study. Abe's inherent good nature and his love of fun, never far from the surface, assert themselves under Sarah's guidance and interest. At 18, Abe falls deeply in love with Anna Roby. Their teenage romance is handled with great sensitivity. Bound out to his father, according to custom, Abe cannot support a wife until he becomes 21, and he feels honor-bound not to propose to Anna. He spends a summer of hard labor on the Taylor farm in order to be near her, and then, because he has been unable to speak what was in his heart, he sees her promised to another man. Confused, bitter, disillusioned, he loses interest in a law career, escapes to a boisterous life on the Ohio River, and comes within an inch of missing the road to his historic destiny. The climax of the book is Abe's trip down the Mississippi to New Orleans, where he first sees the tragedy of slavery. Here's the young Abe Lincoln when he was moody, ambitious, and uncertain. When he was growing up in spite of the obstacles placed in his way by circumstances and by his own nature. The violent stirrings of adolescence, the inimitable sense of humor, the tenderness so naturally a part of him are intermingled in this story of his youth. Abe Lincoln of Pigeon Creek belongs stirringly to our American heritage and will appeal to every American. So I'm interested to read that. Again, it's a piece of fiction, but loosely based, historical fiction, loosely based on history there. So nice little addition to the library. I don't have a lot in the Lincoln Library that's actually fiction. There's a couple of novels, but not very much. I tend to stick to the nonfiction. But anyway, the next one that I picked up is called Lincoln's Last Speech, Wartime Reconstruction and the Crisis of Reunion by Lewis P. Masser. Nice little cover. I picked this one up brand new. It's from Oxford University Press, and it is give me a second. It is a 2015 book. So it's a couple years old, almost 10 years old, but still pretty relevant. On the evening of April 11th, 1865, standing at the second floor of the White House window on the north portico, Abraham Lincoln delivered his last speech. An enthusiastic and restless crowd of several thousand came to listen, despite the soaking rain, anticipating and indeed calling for a rousing victory oration. They were eager to hear their commander-in-chief sound the Confederacy's death knell. Coming 2 days after Robert E. Lee's surrender at Appomattox and a week after the fall of Richmond, the speech could have fulfilled their expectations. In fact, Lincoln's speech disappointed many of those who turned out, for his subject was not military triumph, but political reconstruction. The speech is not among Lincoln's best remembered, nor rhetorical rival to the Second Inaugural or the Gettysburg Address. Yet, as Lewis P. Masser reveals in this fascinating and compelling book, it was no less significant, offering the best indication we have of how Lincoln envisioned restoring the seceded states and revealing Lincoln's beliefs about the question of black suffrage, clearly enough for John Wilkes Booth, in attendance that night, to mutter infamously that that is the last speech he'll ever make. Lincoln's last speech vividly illuminates the evolution of Lincoln's thinking and the national debate around Reconstruction as it developed from the early days of the war to the end of his presidency. Masser locates key moments such as the proclamation of amnesty and Reconstruction on December 8, 1863, and Lincoln's pocket veto of the Wade-Davis bill in July of 1864, to situate what Lincoln would more fully define in his final address to the nation. He also examines social reconstruction, including the plight of freedmen and the debate over their place in society. Lincoln desired justice and mercy in his last speech mapped the path to reunion. Masser's penetrating study of Lincoln's views on national reconciliation is essential for understanding the conflicts over Reconstruction during the war and after it. What seems hauntingly clear is that the post-war policy that Lincoln outlined on the evening of April 11th differed dramatically from what would emerge in the tumultuous decade that followed. Now, I have a lot of different books in the library here over his most famous speeches, individual volumes for each speech, the Gettysburg Address, the Second Inaugural, just a whole bunch of them up there. And so this will be a nice addition to that, because I didn't have any individual novels on the last speech that he gave. So that'll be a good look into where Reconstruction, like it said, Reconstruction differed from Lincoln's views. Now, the next one I have on the shelf, but this is just a different copy, and I picked it up for like $3, and so it's in brand new condition. As you can see, everything's corners are perfect, the cover's perfect, so I went ahead and picked it up. I thought, I'll grab another copy, and it's different than the one I have. It looks different. But this is Lincoln as I Knew Him, Gossip, Tributes, Revelations from His Best Friends and Worst Enemies by edited by Harold Holzer. So it's a collected biography, collection of all these different things. And it is from Algonquin Books of Chapel Hill, and it's a 2009 book. And this one is Forget What You Think You Know About Abraham Lincoln. These first-hand anecdotes and reminiscences strip away the myths and legends to uncover the authentic Abraham Lincoln, the one before the history books got a hold of him. From the famous Nathaniel Hawthorne, Harriet Beecher Stowe, Frederick Douglass, Ulysses Grant, to the not-so-funny White House secretaries, artists, bodyguards, childhood pals, and rejected fiancé. This collection presents a revealing and at times contradictory view of our 16th president. From his boyhood through the White House years, it all adds up to an unusual and intimate portrait of the complex man of the 200th anniversary of his birth. So another good pickup for the library, getting to know him firsthand. Okay, the next one's by a pretty famous Lincoln and Civil War biographer and historian, Stephen B. Oates. Many of you probably recognize his name. He's done stuff on her. I think I have a biography. I think he's the one that did the Clara Barton biography, and there's some other stuff out there by Stephen B. Oates. But this is Abraham Lincoln, the man behind the myths. Thought this was it's in real good shape. Obviously used. All of these are used, except for the one last speech book. Yeah, well, there might be one more that's not used. But anyway, they're all in really good shape. So like I said, I was happy to add them to the collection. This is a, let's see, 1984 book. This is a 1994 printing, though, and it's from Harper Perennial Books. Again, Abraham Lincoln, the man behind the myths. So I don't think I'm going to read this one to you because I think you kind of get the idea what that one's about, but was glad to add it to the collection. The next one is a memoir that I have looked for years and just never came across it, and I finally came across it. And it goes really well because my friend Patrice Jones, who has her own channel, 2 minutes of books, 2 minutes, I can't remember the exact title, but anyway, she does short videos about her books or tries to keep them to about 2 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes. And we did a buddy read a while back on Mary Lincoln and Elizabeth Keckley in the friendship that they formed while Elizabeth Keckley, the seamstress, was working for Mary Lincoln in the White House. And in that book, one of the things that kind of disappointed me about that book was I thought it was going to be more about her time with Mary in the White House. Like it was going to be the bulk of the book. And that was actually only a couple chapters worth in the book. The bulk of the book is like a biography of the two women, bringing them to the point of meeting. And so I was really excited to find these memoirs by Elizabeth Keckley. It's Behind the Scenes in the Lincoln White House, Memoirs of an African-American Seamstress. And I'm sure there's going to be, a lot of, biographical information about her. But I'm also thinking, if I remember correctly from, the notes section, the sources in the back of other history books about Lincoln or biographies about Lincoln, they always bring this one up because she does an excellent job of setting the scene of what it was like to be in the White House on an everyday basis with the Lincoln family. And she ended up playing a large role for the family, other than just the seamstress for Mary and all of her dresses that she was making and buying. She also helps with the kids when sickness hits the White House, and Willie ends up dying and takes Abraham Lincoln and Mary Lincoln into kind of a downward depressing spin, and she really helps to take care of Tad during that time period. And then again, when Abraham Lincoln is assassinated, she steps in the void and fills the void there to help Mary Lincoln through her grief. And so I'm really looking forward to this, just to see what she had to say, right, the words right out of her mouth. And so that's a great addition. So the next one, so 2 left here. The next one is Your Friend Forever, A. Lincoln, The Enduring Friendship of Abraham Lincoln and Joshua Speed by Charles B. Strozier. And this book is from Columbia University Press. It's out of New York, and it's a 2016 book. And I just realized I did not show you. Okay, so this book by Elizabeth Keckley, let's see. Oh, it doesn't give I apologize. It doesn't give when it was printed. Oh, there. Well, her introduction to it is 1868. So there you go. It's her work. But this is obviously not an 1868 book. I was trying to find when it was printed. 2016. There we go. This was a 2016 book from the 1800s, the story is. So anyway, getting back to this one, Your Friend Forever, A. Lincoln. Of course, Joshua Speed is the guy that when Abraham Lincoln moves from Salem, Illinois to Springfield, he really has no plans. He has nowhere to stay. he's got to kind of do things on the go, and he goes to Joshua Speed's store, and Joshua Speed feels sorry for him and says, yeah, you can stay upstairs, because he owns a store. He says, you can stay upstairs with me, and I've got room for you. And so he puts Lincoln up, and they become best friends. And very interesting part of the Lincoln story. On April 15th, 1837, a long, gawky Abraham Lincoln walked into Joshua Speed's dry goods store in Springfield, Illinois, and asked what it would cost to buy the materials for a bed. Speed said $17, which Lincoln didn't have. He asked for a loan to cover that amount until Christmas. Speed was taken with his visitor, but as he said later, I never saw so gloomy and melancholy a face. Speed suggested Lincoln stay with him in a room over his store for free and share his large double bed. What began would become one of the most important friendships in American history. So Speed was Lincoln's closest confidant, offering him invaluable support after the death of his first love, Anne Rutledge, and during his rocky courtship of Mary Todd. Lincoln needed Speed for guidance, support, and empathy. Your friend forever, A. Lincoln, is a rich analysis of the friendship that was both a model of male friendship and a specific dynamic between two brilliant but fascinatingly flawed men who played off each other's strengths and weaknesses to launch themselves in love and life. Their friendship resolves important questions about Lincoln's early years and adds significant psychological depth to our understanding of our 16th president. So, yeah, looking forward to that. I think that's going to be a good one. It looks like our author, Charles B. Strozier, he's had some other stuff, another book on Lincoln. He wrote Lincoln's Quest for Union, Public and Private Meanings, and I'd be interested to try to find that one. He did that one back in 1982, so he's been down the path of Lincoln before. So I'm excited to see what he has to say about the friendship that those two men made, because it played such a large role in Lincoln's life, and he was a friend. I mean, all the way through. Wasn't just a friend for a couple of years, during the time period he needed him. He was a friend all the way through. So this last one is more of a fun book on Lincoln. I saw it and I just had to have it. I thought it was kind of neat. And one of the big reasons that I got it, not only because it's Lincoln, but I have a 7-year-old daughter who is extremely interested in cooking, and she loves to help her mother in the kitchen when she's making dinner and stuff. I mean, it's like one of her favorite things to do, to be able to, chop vegetables beside mom and throw them in the soup, or, mix up eggs for scrambled eggs, or, whatever it may be. She loves helping her mother do that kind of stuff. And so I thought, why not add to the fun and introduce this book and take her historic knowledge and expand it. So this is Abraham Lincoln in the Kitchen, a culinary view of Lincoln's life and times, by Ray Catherine Igme. I'm not sure how to say her name, but it includes 55 authentic recipes, and it's updated for the modern kitchen. So this is basically food that would have been ate by Lincoln during the time period, and by the people of Lincoln's time during the time period. And I just thought that was incredibly neat, like a really neat idea. And this is also from Smithsonian Books from Washington, D.C. It's 2013 book. And so let me read this one, and then we'll wrap this video up. So, the very assertion that Abraham Lincoln toiled in the kitchen is both fascinating and true. Get a unique view of the everyday life of one of our nation's most esteemed presidents, and experience flavors and textures of the past with culinary biography, Abraham Lincoln in the Kitchen. Igme follows Abraham Lincoln's life from childhood through presidency, solving riddles such as what gingerbread recipe could have been Lincoln's childhood favorite when few families owned cookie cutters, and what type of barbecue could be served to thousands at political rallies when paper plates and napkins didn't exist. With Igme's culinary research and experiments, including sleuthing through Lincoln's Springfield Ledger grocery bills and turning a backyard grill into a cast iron stove, The foods that Lincoln cooked and enjoyed are translated into a modern recipes so that authentic dishes of 1820 from between 1820 and 1865 are possible for today's home cooks. Delicious, evocative, and well worth small efforts to prepare, these recipes are unlike anything we eat today. Join Igmi on her journey of tasteful discovery and pull up a chair to Lincoln's table. So I thought that was really cool. And like I said, it might be something that it might be something that I'm able to, share with my daughter down the road, and we can make some Lincoln stuff and just give us another thing to talk about and enjoy together. Always looking for stuff like that. So, yeah, BookTube. This has been a book haul, all based around Abraham Lincoln. I hope you've enjoyed this. Hope maybe I showed you some titles that maybe you want to go looking for, because there's some old ones and there's some new ones in here. So tell me what you think down in the comments section, and let me know if you've read any of them, if you would suggest reading any of them first versus not so much, towards the end. And thank you for watching. I thank you for all of the new subscribers, the new viewers that are coming to the channel. I really appreciate that, and just hope you enjoy yourself while you're here. So, BookTube, until next time, happy reading.